After the crash, the Korean Mafia boss was left to die on the roadside. Only a black waitress saw him, and with her last coin in her pocket, she chose to save a man the world feared. The black Maserati flipped 3 times before slamming into the drainage ditch with a sound like thunder splitting the earth. Imani Brooks watched it happen in slow motion from the bus stop across the street. Metal twisting, glass exploding into diamond rain. The vehicle finally settling upside down in murky water that immediately began filling the interior. For exactly 3 seconds, the suburban Los Angeles street was perfectly silent. Empty. Just Imani, the wrecked car, and the lazy 2 p.m. sun beating down on asphalt. Then her body moved before her mind could catch up, legs pumping as she sprinted across 4 lanes. Her work uniform, black slacks and white button-down for her shift at Celestial Gardens, already soaked with sweat. The driver was still conscious when she reached the ditch, trapped upside down in his seatbelt as brown water crept up past his shoulders. Blood ran down his face from a gash across his temple, mixing with the filthy water. But what stopped Imani's breath wasn't the blood or the wreckage. It was his eyes. Dark, fierce, completely aware, and the intricate tattoo crawling up his neck. A Korean dragon in black ink, its tail disappearing beneath his collar. "I've got you," Imani gasped, sliding down into the ditch. The water was waist deep and smelled like rust and decay. "Don't move. I'm getting you out." "Leave," he managed, voice rough with pain but holding absolute command. "Not safe. They're coming back." "Who's coming back?" Imani was already pulling at the seatbelt, fingers fumbling with the buckle release. The car creaked ominously, settling deeper into the water. "Doesn't matter. Get away from me." He tried to push her hands away, but his right arm hung at a wrong angle. Broken. "I'm nobody. Leave me." "Shut up," Imani snapped, finally getting the seatbelt release. He dropped into her arms with a groan that vibrated through her chest. Up close, she could see he was young, maybe late 20s, Korean, devastatingly handsome despite the blood and pain. Expensive suit, custom tailored, now ruined. Watch on his wrist that probably cost more than her yearly rent. "On 3. 1, 2. She hauled him up and out of the ditch with strength she didn't know she possessed, adrenaline and terror making her capable of impossible things. He was heavier than he looked, all lean muscle under that tailored suit, and by the time she got him onto the roadside, her arms were shaking. "You're insane," he breathed, looking at her like she was something alien. "Do you know what you just did? Saved your life?" Imani was already pulling out her phone to call 911, but his hand, the unbroken one, shot out and grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "No ambulance, no police. They'll find me at a hospital." "Who will find you? What's going on?" "Nothing that concerns you." He tried to sit up and immediately went gray, pain stealing his breath. "Just leave, please." "Forget you saw this." Imani looked at him, this mysterious bleeding man with a neck tattoo and expensive problems, and made a decision that would change everything. She pulled out her wallet, counted the bills inside. $47, her last money until Friday's paycheck. Rent was already 2 weeks late. She had exactly 1 can of soup and half a box of crackers in her apartment. "Can you walk?" she asked. "What?" "Can you walk?" She was already hooking his good arm over her shoulders. "Because I'm not leaving you here to bleed out. And if you won't let me call an ambulance, we're doing this the hard way. You don't understand? I understand you're hurt and stubborn and possibly in shock. Now move." She half dragged him toward the main road where she could see a taxi approaching. Her bus, the one she needed for work, the one that would make her late if she missed it, sailed past without stopping. The taxi driver took one look at the blood-soaked Korean man and started to drive away. Imani jumped in front of the car, palms flat on the hood. $50 to take us to Mercy General. Cash, right now. "That ain't enough for the cleaning fee if he bleeds in my cab," the driver said through the window. $75, Imani countered, knowing she didn't have it, knowing she'd figure it out somehow. "But you drive fast and don't ask questions." Something in her face must have convinced him. The driver nodded, and Imani shoved her mysterious patient into the back seat, sliding in beside him. He slumped against her immediately, and she felt the heat of him, the rapid flutter of his pulse against her shoulder. "Your name," she said as the taxi merged into traffic. "At least tell me your name." "Lee Jun Young." His eyes were starting to glaze, shock setting in properly now. And you just made the worst decision of your life, saving me. Let me worry about my decisions. Imani pressed her work shirt against the gash on his head, trying to stop the bleeding. Stay awake, Lee Jun-young. Talk to me. What happened back there? Ambush. They cut my brake lines, forced me off the road. His voice was fading, words slurring. Wanted to send a message. Instead, they sent me you. Who's they? Everyone who wants what I have. His laugh was bitter, painful. Power, territory, control. I run the Shinsong faction in LA, Korean Mafia, and someone just tried to kill me for it. Imani's hands stilled for half a second. Korean Mafia. She just pulled a crime boss out of a ditch, spent her last money to save him, and according to him, that made her a target too. Well, she said, pressing harder on his wound. That explains the dramatic neck tattoo. He laughed again, then groaned. You're not scared? I'm terrified, but you're still bleeding, and I'm still not letting you die. She caught his eyes, held them. So stay with me, crime boss. Stay awake. Tell me something else. Anything. Your name, he breathed. At least, let me know who saved me. Imani Brooks. Beautiful name for a crazy woman. His eyes closed. Hey, Jun-young, stay awake. She shook him gently. Tell me about the tattoo. What does the dragon mean? Protection, power. My father's symbol. His words were barely whisper now. He built the Shinsong from nothing. I inherited everything when he died, including his enemies. How long ago? 3 years. Been running things since I was 25. Made a lot of people rich, made more people angry. He forced his eyes open, looking at her with devastating clarity. You should have left me, Imani Brooks. Should have kept walking. Yeah, well, I'm not good at doing what I should. The taxi screeched to a halt outside Mercy General's emergency entrance. Imani shoved bills at the driver. $47, her phone as collateral for the rest. She'd figure it out later, and hauled Jun-young out of the car. The ER exploded into controlled chaos the moment they came through the doors. Nurses materialized with a gurney. Doctors shouted medical jargon. And Imani stood there, covered in someone else's blood, watching them wheel Lee Jun-young away down a white corridor. Ma'am? A nurse touched her arm. Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. Imani looked down at her ruined work clothes, at her empty wallet, at her phone left in some taxi driver's cup holder. I need to make a call. She used the hospital phone to call Celestial Gardens. Her manager, Marcus, picking up on the third ring. Marcus, it's Imani. I'm not going to make my shift. There was an accident. I had to. You're already 2 hours late, Brooks. This is the third time this month. I know, I'm sorry, but someone was hurt and I had to help. I don't care if the president was hurt. You're fired. Clear out your locker tomorrow. The line went dead. Imani stood there, phone pressed to her ear, trying to process what just happened. She'd lost her job, spent her last money, given away her phone, all to save a man she didn't know, who ran a criminal empire and had enemies trying to kill him. Brilliant, Imani, she muttered. Absolutely brilliant life choices. Ms. Brooks? A doctor appeared, young and tired-looking. You came in with Lee Jun-young? Is he okay? Concussion, 3 broken ribs, fractured ulna, severe lacerations. But he'll live, thanks to you getting him here so fast. The doctor studied her curiously. He's asking for you. Won't let us treat him properly until he sees you're still here. I'm still here. Where else would she go? They led her to a private room. Emergency rooms didn't usually have private rooms, but apparently Lee Jun-young had made arrangements, where he lay propped up in a hospital bed, right arm in a cast, head bandaged, but eyes clear and focused. You stayed, he said. You're welcome, by the way. Imani crossed her arms. For the saving your life thing. I didn't ask you to save me. And yet here you are, alive. You're terrible at gratitude. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. My people are coming. They'll take over security, handle the police, clean up the mess. You should leave before they arrive. This isn't your world. I lost my job saving you, spent my last $47, left my phone as collateral with a taxi driver who probably pawned it already. Imani sat down in the chair beside his bed, exhaustion hitting her like a wave. So maybe it's not my world, but I'm here anyway. Deal with it. Jun-young stared at her, expression unreadable. You lost your job? Third late arrival this month. Apparently saving lives isn't an acceptable excuse. Where do you work? Worked. Celestial Gardens. Overpriced restaurant in Beverly Hills. I was a waitress. Made decent tips when customers weren't being racist. She shrugged. I'll find something else. No, you won't. He reached for the call button with his good hand. Because you're working for me now? Excuse me? You saved my life. Put yourself in danger. Lost everything because of me. His eyes were fierce. The Shinshong takes care of its debts. You work for me. I pay you triple what you made at that restaurant. And you're under my protection until whoever tried to kill me is dealt with. I don't want to work for the Mafia. Too bad. You became involved the moment you pulled me out of that ditch. A nurse appeared, and Junyoung spoke rapid Korean. The nurse nodded and disappeared. I'm having money sent to cover your phone replacement and what you spent on the taxi. Consider it a down payment. You can't just, I can. I do, and I will. He fixed her with a look that probably made grown men weep. Imani Brooks, you tied yourself to me the moment you decided I was worth saving. Now I'm tying myself to you. That's how this works. That's insane. Welcome to my world. Before Imani could argue further, the door burst open and 3 men in expensive suits flooded in. They moved like predators, eyes scanning for threats, hands inside their jackets where she knew guns must be holstered. The one in front, older, graying, with a scar bisecting his left cheek, stopped dead when he saw Junyoung. Boss! Relief flooded his face. He spoke rapid Korean, gesturing urgently. Junyoung answered in the same language, then switched to English. In English, Hyun-soo. Ms. Brooks doesn't speak Korean. The scarred man, Hyun-soo, turned to study Imani with naked suspicion. She the one who brought you in? She's the one who saved my life. Junyoung's tone brooked no argument. And she's under Shinsong protection now. Full protection. Make it known. Boss, we don't know her. Could be a plant from... She spent her last money to save me. Lost her job. She's clean. Junyoung's eyes never left Imani's face. And she's mine now. My responsibility. Understood? The weight of that declaration settled over the room like snow. Hyun-soo's eyes widened fractionally. Then he nodded slowly. Understood, boss. We'll set up security detail. No, Imani said. Absolutely not. I don't need bodyguards. You do. Junyoung was implacable. Whoever cut my brakes saw the crash. They'll know someone pulled me out. They'll be looking for you. Ice water flooded Imani's veins. What? There are cameras on that street. Traffic cameras. By now, my enemies have footage of you dragging me out, getting me into a taxi. They know your face. His expression was grim. You're a loose end, and loose ends get cut. Oh, God. Imani sat down hard. Oh, God, what did I do? You saved me, Junyoung's voice gentled. And now I'm going to save you. Hyun-soo, take her to the safe house. Set up full security. Nobody gets near her. I have an apartment, a cat, plants that need watering. We'll get your cat and your plants. Junyoung was already giving orders in Korean, his men nodding and dispersing. But you can't go back there. Not until this is resolved. This is insane. This whole thing is insane. Imani stood pacing. I should have just called 911. Should have done the normal thing. But you didn't. Junyoung caught her hand as she passed his bed, his grip strong despite the injuries. You jumped into filthy water to save a stranger. You spent money you didn't have. You put yourself at risk for someone you didn't know. That's not normal, Imani. That's extraordinary. That's stupid, she corrected, but didn't pull her hand away. Maybe. His thumb traced circles on her palm. But I'm alive because of your stupidity, so I'm grateful for it. There's that gratitude I was waiting for. He almost smiled again. Go with Hyun-soo. Get settled. I'll be out of here tomorrow, and we'll figure out next steps. What happens next? Next, I find out who tried to kill me, and then I make sure they never try again. The safe house was a penthouse in downtown LA with views that probably cost more per month than Imani had ever made in a year. Floor-to-ceiling windows, minimalist furniture, a kitchen larger than her entire apartment. Hyun-soo's men swept the space professionally, checking every corner, before one of them disappeared and returned with a cat carrier. Duke! Imani rushed to release her enormous orange tabby, who emerged with an indignant meow and immediately started investigating his new surroundings. Thank you for getting him. Boss's orders. Hyun-soo stood by the door, arms crossed. There's food in the kitchen, clothes in the bedroom your size, and 2 guards stationed outside 24/7. You need anything you ask them. How did you get my size? We're very thorough, Miss Brooks. That's terrifying. That's survival. He turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you did good today. The boss, he's a good man in a bad business. You saved someone worth saving. He runs the Mafia. He runs it better than anyone else could. Keeps the peace. Protects the community. Doesn't deal in drugs or trafficking. Hyun-soo's expression was fierce with loyalty. His father built the Shin-sung to protect Korean immigrants from predators. Jun-young continues that legacy. There are much worse people you could have saved. After he left, Imani explored her gilded cage. The bedroom had a bed that could fit 6 people. The bathroom had a tub that could double as a swimming pool. And the closet was filled with clothes, all her size, ranging from casual to elegant. Someone had been very, very thorough. Her new phone, top of the line, already set up, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Rest. I'll see you tomorrow. J.Y. Imani stared at the message, then at Duke, who'd claimed the enormous bed as his throne. What have I gotten us into, buddy? Duke yawned, unconcerned. He'd found the good life and was content. Imani wished she could say the same. Jun-young appeared the next afternoon, moving carefully but refusing the wheelchair the hospital had insisted on. He looked different in casual clothes, black jeans, a dark gray sweater that somehow made his neck tattoo more prominent. Still dangerous but more accessible. Human. You came, Imani said from where she'd been stress baking in the penthouse kitchen. Cookies covered every available surface. I said I would. He surveyed the cookie invasion with raised eyebrows. Nervous baker? Stress baker. There's a difference. She handed him a chocolate chip cookie. How are you feeling? Like I flipped a car 3 times and broke several bones. He bit into the cookie and his eyes widened. This is incredible. My grandmother's recipe. Baking helps me think. And what are you thinking about? How I'm unemployed, living in a stranger's penthouse, under guard because I saved a crime boss, and somehow this is my life now. She leaned against the counter. Also, whether I should be more terrified or more angry. Both are valid. Jun-young moved into the kitchen, his kitchen, she reminded herself, and poured coffee with his good hand. I have a proposition for you. I already told you I'm not working for the Mafia. Not for the Mafia, for me. He set down his cup. I own legitimate businesses, restaurants, nightclubs, real estate, all completely legal. I need someone I can trust, someone outside the organization to help manage the hospitality division. You barely know me. I know you're brave enough to jump into a ditch for a stranger, resourceful enough to get me to a hospital with $47, stubborn enough to argue with a crime boss in a hospital bed. His eyes held hers. And I know you make incredible cookies. That's more than I know about most people I work with. This is crazy. Yes, but you need a job. I need someone I can trust, and we're already tangled together whether we like it or not. He took another cookie. Besides, you'd be doing me a favor. Most of my people are terrified of me. You're not. I'm absolutely terrified of you. But you argue anyway. That's the difference. Imani studied him, this complicated, dangerous man who'd crashed into her life. Literally. If I say yes, I want things clear. I'm not involved in anything illegal. I don't want to know about the Mafia stuff. I'm just managing restaurants. Agreed. And I live here until it's safe. Then I get my own place. Agreed. Though you're welcome to stay as long as you like. Duke seems to have claimed the master bedroom. Despite everything, Imani laughed. He's an opportunist. Smart cat. Jun-young extended his uninjured hand. Do we have a deal, Imani Brooks? She looked at his hand, at the tattoo creeping up his neck, at eyes that held shadows and secrets. And she thought about her empty bank account, her lost job, the way he'd looked at her like she was someone worth protecting. Deal, she said, taking his hand. But if this goes sideways, I'm blaming you entirely. Fair enough. His grip was warm, solid. Welcome to the organization, Ms. Brooks. I thought this was separate from the organization. Technically, but let's be honest. Nothing in my life is ever truly separate. The next 2 weeks fell into an unexpected rhythm. Jun-young worked from the penthouse while recovering, conducting meetings via video call and encrypted messages. Imani dove into managing his hospitality division, 3 upscale restaurants, 2 nightclubs, and a boutique hotel, discovering she had a natural talent for organization and problem solving. They orbited each other carefully, professional during the day, when Jun Young's various lieutenants came and went with reports and requests. But in the evenings, when it was just them and Duke in the sprawling city lights, something else emerged. "Tell me about your family," Jun Young said one night over the dinner Imani had cooked, her mother's recipe for jerk chicken, which had him groaning with appreciation. "Mom's a nurse. Dad's a mechanic. 2 younger brothers who think I'm crazy for moving to LA. Imani sipped her wine. "They wanted me to stay in Atlanta, find a nice man, have babies. Traditional stuff. But you wanted something different. I wanted to see if I could make it on my own, prove I was more than just what everyone expected." She smiled wryly. "Instead, I've been barely surviving for 3 years, until I pulled a crime boss out of a ditch. Best decision you ever made. Worst decision I ever made. We'll see." His eyes held hers across the table. "What about relationships? Boyfriend angry you're living with another man?" "No boyfriend. Last one decided I was too ambitious, too independent, too much." Imani shrugged. "You? No one. Can't risk it in my position. Women who date me become targets. It's not fair to them. So you're alone. I have my organization. My men. That's enough." "Is it?" Imani challenged gently. "Because you look pretty lonely to me." Jun Young's expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering across his face before he shuddered it. "Loneliness is safer than loss. I watched my father die because he loved my mother too much to see her betrayal. Love makes you weak. Your mother betrayed him? Set him up for an ambush. Got paid by a rival faction." His voice was flat, emotionless. "I was 25. Had to take over immediately, prove I was strong enough to lead. Had to execute her for the betrayal in front of everyone." "Oh my God!" Imani reached across the table instinctively. "Jun Young, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. She made her choice." But he didn't pull his hand away from hers. "That's when I learned that love is a weapon people use against you. Better to stay alone." "That's the saddest thing I've ever heard." "That's reality." His thumb traced patterns on her palm. "But then you came along and complicated everything." "How?" "Because you saved me without knowing who I was, without wanting anything in return. You just cared." His eyes searched hers. "When was the last time someone cared whether I lived or died without it being about what I could do for them? Maybe you're surrounded by the wrong people. Maybe I am." He stood wincing slightly. The ribs still hurt. And Imani rose with him. They were close now, close enough that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes, could smell his cologne, could feel the heat radiating from him. "Imani," he said softly, "you should know something. Whoever tried to kill me, we still haven't found them, which means you're still in danger." "I know. And being near me makes you more of a target, not less. I know that too. So why are you still here?" Imani met his gaze steadily. "Because maybe I'm tired of safe. Maybe I'm tired of small dreams and smaller lives. Maybe pulling you out of that ditch woke something up in me. Or maybe you have a savior complex. Maybe," she smiled. "Or maybe you're worth saving." He kissed her then, soft and careful, mindful of his injuries but unable to resist any longer. And Imani kissed him back, tasting coffee and danger, and the promise of something that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jun Young rested his forehead against hers. "This is a bad idea. Terrible idea. You could get hurt, killed. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow." "Imani, I'm serious." "So am I." She cupped his face gently. "I'm not naive. I know what you are, what you do. And I'm choosing this anyway. Choosing you. If that makes me crazy, then I'm crazy. You are absolutely insane. Takes one to know one, crime boss." He kissed her again, deeper this time, and Imani let herself fall into it, into him, into the impossible, dangerous thing growing between them. The attack came 3 days later. Imani was alone in the penthouse. Jun Young at a meeting he couldn't avoid, guards stationed outside, when Duke started hissing at the door. Before she could react, the lock clicked and 3 men in black masks burst through. Imani's training kicked in, the self-defense classes her father had insisted on, and she grabbed the closest weapon, a cast-iron skillet from the kitchen. The first man went down with a satisfying crack to the skull. The second she kicked hard in the knee, feeling something crunch. But the third was faster, stronger. He had her pinned before she could scream, knife pressed to her throat, breath hot against her ear. "Where is he?" the man hissed. "Where's Lee Jun-young?" "No idea," Amani gasped. "And if I did, I wouldn't tell you." "Wrong answer." The knife pressed harder, and she felt blood begin to trickle down her neck. "He took everything from us. Our territory, our business, our respect. Now we take what's his." The penthouse door exploded inward. Jun-young stood there, face a mask of cold fury, gun in his good hand. "Let her go, now." "Or what? You'll shoot me?" The man laughed. "Your girlfriend dies first." "She's not my girlfriend." Jun-young's voice was ice. "She's everything, and you just made a fatal mistake." He moved faster than Amani thought possible for an injured man. The gun fired once, twice, and the man holding her dropped with a cry. Jun-young was on him in seconds, beating him with controlled, professional violence that was more terrifying than rage. "Jun-young!" Amani's voice cut through his fury. "Stop! You're going to kill him!" He froze, fist raised, blood on his knuckles. Then he dropped the man, unconscious but alive, and turned to Amani. "You're hurt." "It's nothing." But she was shaking now, adrenaline crashing. "Just a scratch." He was across the room in a heartbeat, gentle hands examining the cut on her throat. "I'm sorry. I should have been here. Should have protected you better. You were here. You saved me." "After you saved yourself." His eyes traveled to the unconscious men, to the skillet on the floor. "You took down 2 of them alone?" "My dad taught me to fight, said I'd need it in LA. Imani tried to smile, but her lips were trembling. Guess he was right. Jun-young pulled her close, and Imani let herself collapse into him, let herself shake and cry and be vulnerable. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "I've got you, and I'm never letting go." Hyun-soo and his team arrived, cleaning up the mess with professional efficiency. The 3 attackers were removed, 2 to a hospital under guard, 1 to wherever Jun-young's people took failures. Imani didn't ask. "They were from the Baek faction," Hyun-soo reported. "The ones who've been pushing into our territory for months." "Then it ends now." Jun-young's voice was steel. "Call a summit, all the families, tomorrow night. They want war? I'll give them a treaty they can't refuse." After everyone left, Jun-young ran Imani a bath, his bathroom, his tub, and tended to her injuries with surprising gentleness. "You should leave," he said quietly, bandaging the cut on her throat. "Go back to Atlanta. Be safe." "No. Imani, I said no." She caught his hands. "I'm not running. Not from this, not from you, not from whatever comes next. You could die. So could you. But I don't see you running. This is my life, my responsibility. And you're mine now." She pulled him down to kiss her. "Whether you like it or not." They made love that night with desperate intensity, 2 people clinging to each other against the darkness. And afterward, lying tangled together, Imani whispered, "Tell me about the summit tomorrow. What happens? Why? I make it clear that attacking you is attacking me, that the Xinjiang will not tolerate further aggression, that there can be peace or there can be war, but there cannot be both. And if they choose war, then I give them war." His arms tightened around her. "But I'd rather give them a reason to choose peace." "What reason?" "You." He kissed her forehead. "You're my weakness, Imani, but you're also my strength. And tomorrow I'm going to show them what happens when they threaten what I love. You love me." Her heart stopped. "Terrifyingly, completely, since the moment you jumped into that ditch without hesitation." His eyes held hers in the darkness. "I know it's too fast. I know it's crazy. But I love you, Imani Brooks, and that makes you the most dangerous person in my world." "I love you too," she whispered. "My impossible, dangerous, broken crime boss." "Broken? We're all broken. Some of us just hide it better." She traced the dragon on his neck. "But I like your broken pieces. They fit mine." The summit took place in neutral territory, a warehouse in the industrial district, stripped of furniture, lit by harsh fluorescence. Representatives from 5 Korean crime families sat at a long table, flanked by their soldiers. Imani insisted on being there, despite Jun Young's protests. They need to see me, she'd argued. Need to know I'm not afraid, that I'm yours, that I'm real. So she sat beside him now, the only woman in a room full of dangerous men, wearing a black dress and her bandaged throat like armor. The other bosses stared at her with mixture of curiosity and contempt. You call this summit, Lee Jun-young, said the eldest boss, a man named Park who controlled the West Side operations. What's so urgent it couldn't wait? Yesterday, the Beck faction sent 3 men to kill this woman in my home. Jun-young's voice was calm, controlled. That is unacceptable. Beck himself, younger, ambitious, with cold eyes, leaned forward. She's just some girl, a distraction. You're going soft, Lee. She saved my life. Jun-young's hand found Imani's under the table. When your people cut my brakes and ran me off the road, she pulled me from the wreckage, spent her last money to get me to a hospital, lost her job for me. She is not just some girl. She's a liability. Beck smiled cruelly. Everyone knows it. A weak point we can exploit. Then try. Jun-young stood and Imani felt the temperature in the room drop. Try to exploit her. Try to hurt her. Try to use her against me. And I will burn your entire operation to the ground. I will take every business, every territory, every dollar you've ever earned. I will destroy you so completely that your name will be forgotten. You're threatening us over a woman? Beck laughed. You've lost your mind. No, I found something worth protecting. Jun-young pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. That's evidence of every illegal operation you're running, Beck. Dates, locations, names. Everything the FBI would need for a RICO case. I have similar files on everyone in this room. The silence was deafening. Insurance, Jun-young continued. Attack me, attack what's mine, and those files go to the authorities. All of them. Simultaneously. We all burn together. You'd destroy yourself too, Park asked quietly. Yes, but I'd make sure you went down first. He looked at each of them in turn. Or, we can have peace. Continue the territory agreements we've maintained for years. Let the Shinsong go legitimate without interference, and nobody has to lose everything. Why would we agree to this? Beck demanded. Because war is expensive. Because the authorities are already watching us more closely. Because my legitimate businesses could benefit all of us if we work together instead of fighting. Jun-young's voice gentled slightly. My father built the Shinsong to protect our people. I want to continue that legacy, but cleanly, legally. Help me do that, and we all profit. Park studied Jun-young thoughtfully. You're really going legitimate? Yes. 5-year plan. Transitioning everything to legal operations. But I need time, and I need peace. And her? Park nodded at Imani. What's her role in all this? She manages my hospitality division. Completely legitimate work. Jun-young's grip on her hand tightened. And she's my partner, in business and in life. Imani felt all eyes turn to her. She met them steadily, refusing to show fear. I'm not involved in anything illegal, she said clearly, and I'm not going anywhere. So you can accept that and move forward. Or you can keep fighting and lose everything. Your choice. Beck's face flushed with anger. You let her speak to us like that? She can speak however she wants. She's not my property. Jun-young's smile was dangerous. That's the point you keep missing, Beck. She's not a weakness. She's a strength. She makes me fight smarter, not harder. The room fell silent as the bosses exchanged glances. Finally, Park nodded. I agree to the peace. The Shinsong can go legitimate without interference from my operations. One by one, the other bosses agreed. All except Beck, who stood abruptly. You're all fools. This changes nothing. Then you're standing alone, Park said, against all of us. Is that really what you want? Beck looked around the table, saw the unified front, and his expression turned murderous. This isn't over, Lee. Yes, it is. Jun-young's voice was final. Touch her again, come near what's mine again, and the alliance in this room will make sure you disappear. Completely. Do we have an understanding? After a long, tense moment, Beck nodded once and stalked out. The remaining bosses stood, shaking hands with Jun-young, sealing the peace. Several nodded respectfully to Imani, which felt surreal and validating simultaneously. In the car afterward, Imani released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Did that just happen? Did you really threaten to destroy everyone over me? Yes. Jun-young pulled her close. And I meant every word. You're insane. About you? Absolutely. He kissed her temple. But it worked. We have peace. Time to build something better. And Beck? Will be handled. Quietly. His organization is already fracturing. Within a month, he'll be irrelevant. Amani should have been horrified by the casual way he discussed ending someone's power. Instead, she felt a rush of gratitude. He'd gone to war for her, risked everything, because she mattered to him. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For fighting for me? For making me feel like I'm worth fighting for. Imani? He cupped her face gently. You're worth everything. The war, the risk, the complete upending of my life. Everything. 6 months later, Imani stood in the kitchen of June Young's, their penthouse, stress baking again. But this time, it was happy stress. The kind that came from planning a future instead of surviving a present. The hospitality division was thriving under her management. They'd opened 2 new restaurants, both showcasing immigrant chefs and traditional cuisines. The hotels had become known for their inclusive, accessible design, and June Young's transition to legitimate business was ahead of schedule. You're going to make yourself sick if you eat any more of those, June Young said, coming up behind her and stealing a cookie. They're for the community center opening tomorrow, not for you. Everything's for me. I'm the boss. Not of me, you're not. But she leaned back into him, letting him wrap his arms around her waist. No, you're my equal, my partner. He nuzzled her neck. And possibly my future wife, if you ever say yes to my proposals. You've proposed twice, both times during life-threatening situations. That doesn't count. Third time's the charm? He turned her to face him, and Imani saw he was holding a small velvet box. Imani Brooks, will you marry me? No guns, no threats, no danger. Just me asking you to build a life with me. A real, legal, complicated, beautiful life. You're serious. Completely. I love you. I want to marry you. I want kids with your eyes and your stubbornness. I want to grow old arguing with you about restaurant menus and cookie recipes. I want everything. Imani took the box, opened it. The ring was stunning. A single diamond surrounded by smaller stones in a pattern that looked like water drops. Is this the shape of the ditch where you saved me? Yes. His smile was soft. A reminder that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. That's the most ridiculous romantic thing I've ever heard. Is that a yes? That's a yes, you impossible man. She kissed him as he slid the ring onto her finger. But I have conditions. Of course you do. No Mafia business at the wedding. Completely legitimate guest list. And my parents get to meet you before the ceremony. Done, and terrifying, but done. He pulled her closer. Anything else? Yeah, love me forever. Even when I'm stress baking at 3 a.m. Even when I'm stubborn and impossible. Even when I make you crazy. Already do. Already am. Already will. His forehead rested against hers. You saved my life that day in the ditch, Imani. But you've been saving it every day since. Making me want to be better. Making me believe in things I thought were impossible. Like what? Like love. Like peace. Like the possibility that someone like me could have something good. His voice cracked slightly. Like the possibility that I deserve to be saved. You do deserve it. You always did. Imani kissed him softly. And I'll spend the rest of our lives proving it to you. The wedding happened 6 months later in a garden in Malibu, overlooking the ocean. Imani's family flew in from Atlanta. Her father suspicious until June Young spent an entire afternoon talking cars with him. Her mother won over when he learned to make her jerk chicken recipe perfectly. The guest list was exactly as promised. Completely legitimate. Restaurant staff, hotel employees, community members whose lives the Shinseong's charity programs had touched. No weapons, no soldiers, no shadow business. Just people celebrating love. Hyun-soo was there, retired now from active duty, but forever loyal. Mrs. Park from the Korean restaurant, where June Young had taken Imani on their first real date. Imani's former co-workers from Celestial Gardens, including Carmen, who'd learned sign language to communicate with Imani's deaf cousin. Imani walked down the aisle to her father's arm, wearing a dress that combined traditional Korean and African elements. Her mother's lace, her grandmother's pearls, silk the color of midnight. And when she reached June Young, saw his eyes fill with tears, she knew she'd made the right choice that day on the suburban road. I was dying in that ditch, June Young said during his vows. Literally and figuratively. trapped in a life I hated, in a business that was killing me slowly. And then you jumped in without hesitation. You saved me when you had every reason to walk away. You chose me when I was at my lowest. His voice broke. Imani, you saw someone worth saving when I couldn't see it myself. You fought for me, stood by me, loved me through the impossible transition from who I was to who I want to be. And I promise to spend every day of the rest of my life being worthy of that gift, being the man you saw that day, being your partner in everything. I didn't know what I was saving, Imani said through her own tears. Didn't know you were a crime boss or that my life would change completely. I just knew I couldn't let you die, couldn't walk away from someone who needed help. She took his hands. But Jun Young, you saved me too. From a small life, small dreams, small existence. You made me believe I could be more than I thought possible. You fought for me, protected me, loved me fiercely. And I promise to love you just as fiercely, to stand beside you as you become the man you want to be, to build something beautiful from the wreckage we both survived. They kissed as husband and wife while the ocean crashed below and the sun set in glory. And Imani thought about $47, a stranger in a ditch, and a decision made in seconds that changed two lives forever. 2 years later, Imani stood in the newly opened Shinsong Community Center, a massive complex offering job training, childcare, education programs, and small business support for immigrant families. The project had taken 18 months and millions of dollars, but it was finally real. Your father would be proud, Imani said, finding Jun Young in the crowd of people touring the facilities. I think he would. Jun Young pulled her close, one hand resting on the gentle swell of her stomach. 5 months pregnant with their first child. He built the Shinsong to protect our people. This continues that mission, just better. Legal. That too. He kissed her temple. How are you feeling? Tired, happy, overwhelmed. She leaned into him. She's kicking. Want to feel? His hand moved to her stomach, and Imani watched his face transform with wonder when their daughter kicked against his palm. She's strong. She'd have to be with you as a father. And you as a mother. She's going to be unstoppable. They stood together, watching families explore the center, children laughing in the childcare area, adults signing up for English classes and job training. Everything they'd built from the wreckage of that day on the suburban road. Do you ever regret it? Jun Young asked quietly. Saving me that day? Your life would be so much simpler if you just kept walking. Simpler, maybe, but not better. Imani turned to face him fully. You gave me a life worth living, Jun Young. Purpose, love, partnership. You made me feel like I mattered, like what I did made a difference. You saved hundreds of people by saving me. Every person we employ, every family this center helps, every kid who gets a chance they wouldn't have had. That's all because you jumped into a ditch for a stranger. We saved them together. We built this together. He pulled her closer. Build everything together, and we'll keep building. For our daughter, for our community, for the future. Speaking of our daughter, Imani said, we need to agree on a name. I have a suggestion. If you say Dragon Princess, I'm divorcing you. He laughed, the sound free and genuine. No, I was thinking Grace, English and Korean both. Grace for what you showed me that day, for the mercy that changed everything. Imani felt tears prick her eyes. Grace Lee, I love it. Grace Brooks Lee, he corrected. She gets both our names, both our legacies, both our worlds. One world now, ours. They kissed softly, surrounded by the evidence of their impossible love story. A crime boss who'd chosen redemption. A waitress who'd chosen bravery. Two people who'd saved each other and built something beautiful from the wreckage. 5 years after that, Imani sat in the same penthouse kitchen where she'd stress-baked on her first night, watching her daughter Grace, now 4 years old, help her father make cookies. Their son, 2-year-old Marcus, named after Imani's father, banged on pots with wooden spoons in the corner. The Shinsong was now entirely legitimate. Jun Young's empire consisted of restaurants, hotels, real estate, and the community center network that had expanded to 5 locations across California. The criminal past was just that, past, buried, transformed into something that helped rather than hurt. Mama, taste! Grace ran over with a misshapen cookie, Jun Young's amused expression following her. It's perfect, baby. Imani took a bite, made exaggerated sounds of appreciation that made Grace giggle. Did Daddy teach you Grandma's recipe? Uh-huh. And he said you made these when you saved him. That's right. I stress baked a lot in those days. What's stress baking? Grace's eyes were wide with curiosity. It's when you're nervous or scared, so you make cookies to feel better. Were you scared of Daddy? Imani met Jun Young's eyes across the kitchen. A little. He was pretty intense. Still am, Jun Young said, scooping Marcus up before he could dump an entire bag of flour on himself. Your mother just got used to it. Tell me the story again, Grace demanded, settling into her favorite spot on Imani's lap. About how you met. Well, Imani began, smoothing her daughter's hair. Daddy had a very bad day. His car crashed, and he was hurt, and I happened to be walking by. And you saved him. I did, even though I didn't have much money, and it made me late for work, and I didn't know him at all. Because you're a hero, Grace said seriously. No, baby, I'm just someone who couldn't walk away from someone who needed help. That's what a hero is, Mama. Jun Young sat down beside them, Marcus climbing into his lap. Your mama's a hero. She saved me that day, and she keeps saving me every day after. How? Grace asked. By loving me even when I make mistakes, by being my partner when things are hard, by making me want to be better. He reached for Imani's hand. By showing me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is jump into dirty water for a stranger. I'd jump in dirty water for you, Daddy, Grace declared. I know you would, sweetheart. You're brave like your mama. Later, after the kids were in bed and the penthouse was quiet, Imani and Jun Young stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city lights. Do you remember what you said to me in the hospital? Imani asked. That I'd made the worst decision of my life saving you? I was wrong. You were. It was the best decision I ever made. She turned to face him. And I'd make it again, every single time. Even knowing everything that came after, the danger, the chaos, the complete upheaval of your life, especially knowing that, because all of it led to this. She gestured to the home they'd built, the life they'd created, to us, to Grace and Marcus, to something real and good and worth fighting for. I love you, Jun Young said simply, for jumping into that ditch, for staying when anyone sensible would have run, for building this life with me. I love you too, my impossible, complicated, formerly criminal husband who makes the best cookies and the most beautiful children. Formerly criminal. I like that distinction. Well, you are reformed. Mostly. Mostly? He raised an eyebrow. You still have that dragon tattoo. Still intimidate people without trying. Still move like you're ready for anything. She traced the tattoo on his neck. But now you use all that intensity for good, for our family, for the community. Because of you. Because you showed me there was another way. We showed each other. Imani kissed him softly. I saved you from that ditch. You saved me from a life half lived. We're even. We're partners. We're family. They stood together as the city sparkled below, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage, a waitress and a crime boss, a woman with $47 and a man with an empire. Both broken, both brave, both choosing love over safety, truth over comfort, partnership over isolation. And in the morning, they'd wake up and do it all again. Build their businesses, raise their children, love each other fiercely. Two impossible people living an impossible love story that started with a crash, a ditch, and a decision made in seconds that echoed through years. Thank you, Jun Young whispered, for seeing someone worth saving. Thank you, Imani whispered back, for being worth it. And in the quiet of their home, surrounded by the evidence of the life they'd built from nothing but courage and cookies and $47, they held each other and knew they'd made the right choice. Both of them. That day and every day after.